So it started as a powered up crop duster. Then somebody said, hey, let's put some bombs on it. And that gave us the OA-1K Skyraider 2, a light attack and surveillance aircraft. Now it's meant to be a super cheap counterinsurgency aircraft with long loiter times. And now we have a large-scale all-wood ARF version for gas or electric power. So let's see how she goes together.
The Skyraider 2 comes covered with matte finish iron-on covering. It looks really nice with the anti-slip black stripe. The fully sheeted wings have offset flaps pre-installed at the factory. Wing bolt tabs are reinforced with fiberglass plate. The ailerons have an interesting offset hinge setup as well. All wing control surfaces use semi-hidden control linkages. I couldn't help but notice the long motor mount box, about 10.5 inches long. A nice touch are servo slots on the bottom for gas engines. Fuselage is also fully sheeted, with factory applied decals. Replica scale lattice work on the fuselage rear. Inside the front hatch is a voluminous radio compartment with more servo cutouts. I like how the hatch latch mechanism is all metal. Fiberglass cowl is long, like really long. We're talking 17 inches of poke your eye out. It's nicely made though, with wood formers in the rear and vacuum form vents applied. Plus, if you are bad, it makes for a nice dunce cap.
Neds.
Parts box includes cowl and wing lights. 17-ounce fuel tank, 5-inch diameter wheels, 3.5-inch aluminum spinner. The good stuff is in another box in the form of underwing weapons. Missiles and rockets, oh my! And seats. Yes, they're supposed to be red. A good chunk of kit, but not complicated. Okay, let's start inserting part A into slot B. We start with the wings. Servo mounting blocks are well glued. Speaking of servos, I'll be using high-tech D645 digital high-voltage servos, which fit like a glove in the mounts. Now onto the aileron control linkages. Oops, servo was on the wrong way. Not a whole lot of room to work in, but enough to get the job done. Flaps are done the same way after verifying servo arm angle is correct. Wingtips have holes for lights, which are included in the kit. There are cowl lights, which I'll get to later, but for now let's install the tip lights. You have the red and green LEDs. I first fed through a pull rod. But when I tried to pull through the connector, it just didn't fit. So I cut it off and will resolder it on later. It then went through with no problem. With that done, it was time to pull all the other servo leads and extensions out the wing root. I noticed the nut on the flap control rod was interfering with the top sheeting, so I removed it. Much better. Wings mostly done, I moved to the rudder assembly and opened up the hinge holes. And disassembled the elevators. Silicone grease is used on the hinge pivots to keep the glue at bay. And control arms are scuffed up for better glue adhesion. As usual, 30-minute epoxy is my spirit animal. It's gluing time. While that was curing, the tail wheel is slapped on. Moving to the front office, the tail control servos are installed. And control rods, which have to be inserted through the motor mount. At this point, I thought it would be a good idea to test install the screw-on horizontal tail. Rudder and tail wheel has a pull cable that will need assembly. Assembly is easy, but will take a few twists and turns. Tail wheel setup is similar. Horizontal stabilizer uses similar pull cable leads that screw into the bottom of the stabs, with clevises on the struts. Before installing the subfins, some covering needs to be removed. Then they are epoxied on. While that cures, the weapons pylons are mounted to the wings with bolts. Weapons brackets are also installed. It's a pretty clever use of nuts and bolts. More bolts screw on the weapon pods. I ran out of excuses, so on to the wheel struts. Okay, this is cool. The metal stepladder simply screws into a hidden blind nut in the fuselage. Engine exhausts are also metal. and are fitted using lock nuts. The model has a neat 3D effect control panel that is glued in place. Lastly, the seats. I decided to install the cowl lights, which can operate off a small 3S LiPo battery. But it took some trial and error to find the non-blinking output pins. The lights are pretty bright, but the color temperature seemed a bit warm. They fit like a glove in the holes, however. I then added an EC3 connector to the light control model. There is a single vacuum form part that needs to be cut out and trimmed. It fits on the starboard side of the canopy. Note, I used some tape for alignment.
All right, so normally, I would put in some sort of fire-breathing engine like this 40cc twin Stinger here, but you're probably noticing it probably is not going to fit all that well. But that's okay, because this is where I break from tradition a little bit, my usual motivational power with Seagull models, and I'm actually going to go electric with this baby. This is a Dual Sky GA6000. Rated for, what is it, 6,800 watts. That's just a teeny touch over 9 horsepower. And so this sucker can swing, I think they said it's like a 24-inch prop with ease. And of course, this beast of a speed controller is rated up to 14 cells, which is good because I am planning on using 12 cells lithium pack on this sucker. So we're going to be playing with a lot of power. I mean, my own personal flying arc welder. So I'm really looking forward to using an electric setup. It should fit really nicely in this very slender cowl. So shouldn't have to cut anything. Oh, that's going to be nice not to have to cut any cooling holes or anything for the motor in the cowl. And no mufflers, no throttle linkages. Oh yeah, baby. Oh, give me what I need. So I'm really looking forward to see how this flies. I don't think I've ever used a dual sky motor, and this thing is a beast. It's actually rated, they call it literally a 60cc motor, so by all means it's probably going to be way overpowered for this plane, but it's good because there's a little thing on the left stick called a throttle, and I will be using that. And the gloriousness of this brushless DC motor from Dual Sky and their accompanying speed controller, the 180 HX, is it called? XHV. Let's give it a little cooling fan in there. Look at that. All right, let's see how this thing mounts up.
I first needed to get an idea of how long the motor standoffs needed to be, which turned out to be almost exactly the length of the supplied motor mounts in the box. The kit includes a drilling template for gas engines, but it doesn't match the electric motor mounting spacing. Motor instructions have some measurements, but not the ones I needed, so I just measured them myself and drew out the drilling holes after making various alignment marks. A fit check before drilling confirmed accurate markings. So, with the template mounted, pilot holes were drilled. Before pulling out the big guns. I was concerned about cowl alignment, so I only drilled 2 holes at first. I didn't worry, alignment was perfect. After the remaining holes were drilled, the motor can be fully mounted. Yeah, that's the good stuff. The Dual Sky speed controller is a beast of a unit, almost as big as my hand. It's rated for 14 cells and 180 amps, and has an integrated cooling fan. It even has some fancy ports, including a second external fan connection. To keep weight forward, I mounted the controller at the front of the motor box. The front office will get a 12-inch super detailed pilot from Warbird Pilots. I love these pilot figures. Great details, kung fu grip, and super action articulation. Take that, G.I. Joe. Anyways, I thought I would have to amputate his legs, but I found I could contort him into the cockpit without any surgery. Some hot glue keeps him in his seat. Now I could work on screwing down the canopy with some tiny screws. While thinking of it, I went in and reversed the direction of one of the elevator servos so I could use a Y harness. The same was done to a flap servo. Now I only needed a 6-channel receiver for this big model. Kit comes with a really nice aluminum spinner. But I'll be using a 3-blade prop, so I'll have to try out this MPI spinner. Props will be these beautiful Bela 3-blade Corsair style props, 22x10 and 22x12 sizes. Backplate hole was too big, so I made a spacer from 1mm thick walled aluminum tubing. When test fitting the spinner, I found I needed to grind open the prop slots a bit more. Batteries I will be using are two 6-cell 9500 mAh LiPos from CNHL. They are big bricks of batteries, but they just fit inside the motor box. Both packs will be wired in series. It was time to give her a test to get a feel for the power system. I hooked up my trusty power meter to get some juicy numbers. Oh, that sounds good, if a bit scary.
Oops.
At full tick, the power system was pumping out a respectable 100 amps for 4,100 watts of power.
Ouchie mama!
The 22x10 prop turned at 7,000 RPMs. For a model weighing nearly 30 pounds, I was looking at a very agreeable 140 watts a pound. This was a good time to assemble all the parts together. It's a big model, so I decided to do it outside. Ain't she a beauty? The plane, I mean. At first I tried to use my CG stand, but the fuselage was just too deep. So I used the finger method. Ouch! But she balanced with no extra weight needed. The things I do for this hobby. I still had a couple last minute details to add, like the top antenna. And the pitot tube. Now I got an airplane. But I wasn't quite satisfied. I didn't like that there was no airflow over that 4,000 watt power system. So I opened up the nose intake of the cowl. Much better. There is a natural air outlet in the rear of the fuselage, so I didn't need to cut any exit holes.
Well, thanks for joining me on this assembly. As you can see, this model goes together pretty quickly and is a great candidate for electric power. So stay tuned for part 2, where I fly this big beast of a plane. Spoiler alert, she does fly, and actually quite well. But I really want to shake her down a little to test her mettle. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for watching. Please take a look at the video description below for special HobbyView sales and discounts. Your purchases help support this channel. Happy modeling!